Hello, thank you so much for joining. It's an honor to have you here today. This is a new topic we have to deal with, and happy new month once again. It's a new month. Now we are in April. I hope you enjoyed the month of March. Um, Thank you. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to share the live with someone. You just have to copy it and share it with someone. Let them know you're right here at this time. All right. Share it with someone and let people know where you are at this point in time. And the topic we're going to be talking about today is quite relatable as usual, and it's shadows of the past that still controls us. All right, I'm just going to give you another 30 seconds. Share this link with someone. It's a live event. All right. All right, so let's get started. So, thank you for joining. Good evening. Today is the 5th day of April, 2026. If you're just joining us, just so you know exactly that this is a live broadcast. We are dealing with the topic shadows, the past that controls us, the past that still controls us. It's possible for something to happen in your past that controls the way you approach the future. And so, in order to make this make sense, I'm going to be using the analogy of a shadow. And so I'm going to tell you a few things about a shadow, and don't overthink it. You don't have to overthink it. I'm going to tell you a few things about a shadow so that you understand how something seemingly insignificant can affect the way you look at life for a very long time, if not for the rest of your life. All right, so let's start somewhere. We always have to start somewhere, as usual. All right, just let me know if you can hear me clearly. Let me know if you can hear me clearly, and that would be very helpful. All right. First of all, every human being has a shadow. Every human being has a shadow. And so you can say that shadow is something every human being possesses. But wait a minute. Objects also have shadows. So it's very important to know that if human beings have shadows and objects have shadows, it means that shadows are not peculiar to just human beings. So if human beings have shadows, objects have shadows, it means that shadows have to be coming from somewhere else. It's not a characteristic of just a living thing. So whether it's living or not, there's always shadow. If I raise my hand this way, I'm sure that you can see shadow on my outfit, right? So it's not something that is peculiar to living things. It's also something that could come from non-living things. And so what is this shadow we're talking about? So these are some things you need to know about shadow. Number one is that shadow is a proof that light exists. So number one, there has to be a light source. And so as long as you're not where you used to be in life, whether in a better place or in a worse place, you're always going to have a shadow. There's always a light source. The only place where you're not going to find any shadow is where there's no light. In complete darkness, there's no shadow. And so the only way that, although shadow in this case may look like a setback, it may look like something that was not so pleasant that happened in your past, it only shows up as an evidence that things may be going well at this moment. I don't know if you're getting that. Shadows. Another thing you need to know about shadows is that for you to see a shadow, there has to be an obstruction. For instance, if there's a light source that is shining towards a particular direction, the only way you're going to see any form of shadow is if that light hits something on its way to where it's shining. And so if you watch football, you see that even on the pitch where the lights are very bright, a footballer has shadows, most times 4, 1 in each direction. So if you're looking at a footballer when they are running, especially when the camera is in area view, you see that there's something like an X on the floor. That X you're seeing on the floor on each player is the player's shadow in 4 different directions. And so also, the next thing you need to note about shadows is that you can have more than one shadow at a time. Like, you can have multiple shadows. So look at those multiple shadows as different areas of your life. You can have a financial shadow. You can have a relationship shadow. You could have different types of shadows. But it's possible to have multiple shadows at the same time. Now, even if shadows look like they are seemingly insignificant, somehow they control a large part of our lives. Because number one, they indicate where the light is coming from. What direction is the light coming from in our lives? And I've not seen anybody that wants to go into a room and they say, I've entered this room, but my shadow is still outside. My shadow is still outside. So let me pass in this way or bend my body this way so that my shadow doesn't hit the wall or something. It does not affect you that way. And that's the crazy thing about shadows, because they can creep in your decision making. You won't even know why you are doing the things you're doing, because the reasons you're doing these things have been there so long that you can't even pinpoint them anymore. And so you say, oh, this is how I am. All right? You can't pinpoint them anymore. So let's look at this topic with open-mindedness, because what I may be telling you today may have lingered in your life for a very long time that you're not even aware that it's still there. So here are some things I want you to note at this point. The past doesn't always leave. The things that you may have done in the past, somehow they may just be lingering around. And you're going to understand this particular statement I just made now as we go in. The past doesn't always leave. Sometimes it's just hanging around. It's just hanging around. Sometimes it turns into a behavior. Other times it becomes something we do subconsciously. All right? And some of the things that we call personality, this is my personality. Most of the times it's not personality. Sometimes it is something that we have done over time that has now become a coping mechanism, so to say. That's now become a coping mechanism, so to say. And so you may be looking at somebody who, as a child, you grew up in a family where you were not permitted to speak when older ones are speaking. And so every time they are beating you, keep quiet, you talk a lot. And you grow up in that scenario, in that kind of environment. And so over time, you start coping that way. You know that, okay, if I don't want to get beaten, I should probably keep quiet. And it worked at that time because now you were not getting any form of beating anymore. But after a while, you have grown up with it. And so when people ask you, what kind of person are you? You say, I mean, I don't like to talk much. Like, I'm a quiet person. I think I'm a quiet person. But that's not how you were. In the beginning, it was not so. In the beginning, it was not so. This is just an example of how something that happened in your past has turned your way of reasoning, has become your personality. And to you, genuinely, you may be saying that, oh no, I'm a quiet person. No, I don't eat outside. Maybe at some point in your life, someone mocked you for the way you eat. And so, because of that, you became insecure about eating publicly. Sorry. So because of that, you became insecure about eating publicly. And so you tell yourself that, Omo, no matter what's happening, I'm very hungry now, but just give me the food. Let me take it home. And so you tell yourself, oh, I don't like eating outside. So these are one of the ways that these things can creep into your life, and it becomes an attitude. It becomes a habit. It becomes your personality. And you don't even know how it all started. All right. So today we are going to be doing a lot of reflection. You have to think. You have to think. And I'm going to be giving you some time to think as we progress, right? I'm going to give you some time to think. All right. Let's talk about a couple of things now. We are going to talk about origin. And this is where I'm going to give you some time to think. And I would like you to answer a couple of questions for yourself, right? You have to ask yourself these two questions. The first question is, pick anything that you think right now is your personality trait. Pick anything you think is your personality trait. Either you're too quiet, or you don't like to socialize, or you're a funny person, or just think of anything right now that you think is your personality trait. Then ask yourself this question: when was the first time I felt this way? So you're going to ask yourself that question: when was the first time I actually felt this way? If I am saying now that I am not a going out type. I don't like going out so much. You have to ask yourself that question now. When was the first time I actually felt like I'm not a going out type? What happened that day? What happened around that period when I came up with that conclusion that I'm not a going out type? And the reason why these kind of questions are very important is because if you can remember exactly how something started, if you can remember the origin, it will be easier for you to pinpoint if that is you naturally, or if that's just something that happened and you started coping with. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, who made me feel that I had to be that way? Who is the person that made me feel that way? And so you have told yourself that whenever I go for an event, I just like to be on my own. I don't want to inconvenience anybody. I don't want to go and talk to somebody, maybe they know, bounce me or something like that. Who was the person that made you to feel that way? You may not know the person, right? Maybe because it was a stranger, but think of the experience, think of the event And if you can remember up to that point, try to remember how it was before that time. You know, because in life we say we have healed, I've healed from that, I've healed. But in your younger ages, we actually don't heal from these kind of things. We go into survival mode, which is what we are going to talk about next. We go into survival mode. And survival mode doesn't allow you to see anything happening around you as a problem. Survival mode does not allow you to see anything happening around you as wrong. Survival mode tells you that in spite of anything happening around you, you need to adjust. And so some of us have adjusted into a new reality. Some of us have adjusted into a new personality. Even if you don't have the answers to the questions you have asked yourself now, write them down somewhere. And later just think about it and answer it. All right? Think about it and answer it. There are some personal stories I would have shared at this point, but I'm not sure I'm ready to I'm not sure I'm ready to go that route because I don't know how to defend it. So I'll leave it at that for now. All right? But most times in survival mode, we adapt just to survive that period. And if that period lasts long enough, it becomes a personality. Behaviors that we now have, we learn them through protective mechanisms. Like we're just trying to protect ourselves at that point. We're just trying to protect ourselves. When I was younger, I was very outspoken. But that period, I did chop beating back to back. And so, in order for me not to be outspoken, I better keep quiet. Because I don't want to be beaten. Right? And the result you were trying to get at that time, it worked. Nobody was beating you again because now you less likely get into trouble because you are not saying anything. All right. So it's possible that you think you're not a going out type. You think that you're not a social person. You did not choose that life. You have learned it over time. But now this is the sad part, and this is most of the reason why I'm having this talk with you today. Is that some of the things that we learned in the past, based on this kind of situation we found ourselves, it worked for us back then, but that is the same thing that is limiting us today. Back to the outspoken example. Imagine a child that was very outspoken as a child, especially not today's kind of children. If you were born between the late 90s and let me say 2002, because I think anything after 2002, children started talking the way they wanted. But if you were born, let me say from 1970 to 2002, you would know that you don't say everything that comes to your mind when you're at home. You cannot. You will be beaten more times than none. And so many people go into the silent mode. Some people, they just stay in that period for that period of time. Others change it to their way of life. Others change it to their way of life. But today, you are in an office where you need to speak up. You need to speak up. But you can't speak up again because in your head, no, I'm a quiet type. I don't like confrontation. Let me just leave it there. If they say I stole it, no problem. God will judge. But that's not how you originally were built. That's not how you were built originally. could just be the kind of environment you came out from that has now conditioned you to think that you're not confrontational. And being confrontational is not a bad thing. I keep saying it's not a bad thing. Being confrontational is not a bad thing. Being able to confront something that is making you uncomfortable is a skill. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a skill. All right. So it's becoming less. It's becoming difficult to see people who can speak up for themselves, and that's why, because you're not speaking up for yourself when the problem is still very little, when it eventually gets to a point where you can no longer take it, you're not speaking up again. You just explode, and everything that comes to your head that time, you're saying it. You just explode. And for instance, in a corporate space, you don't want to explode. In a corporate environment, you don't want to explode that way. All right? So that survival strategy that you had in the past that worked for you at that time could be one of your limiting factors in your current day-to-day life. I know people that they can never be out of job. They cannot lack money because they are very, very social. I'm not even saying it's in a... I'm not trying to hype them or whine them or anything. They are very social. If they go for an event, just give them 10 minutes. They are talking to people in that event as if they've known them before. Those kind of people, it's very difficult for them to not have food on their plates because they are always talking with people. They are always talking with people. And as a human being, if you can communicate with other human beings properly at the right time, for the right amount of time, you're most likely going to have all you need whenever you need it. Because even in the days of Abraham, when God wanted to come to Abraham and Sarah, he still came in the form of men. And so it is very important for you to understand how to interact with men. And I'm not talking of men as in gender, male. I'm talking of human beings. You must learn it, like, to be able to interact with people. You can't allow your upbringing to now be a limiting factor. All right. And now we are going to talk about control realization. And control realization is just you trying to make decisions in your consciousness. Because there are a lot of things we do now subconsciously. It has happened to me a couple of times. I was driving home and halfway in the journey, I didn't even know. Like, if you've heard of muscle memory, you can actually drive from church to your house, from church to wherever you're going to, without consciously being on the steering. Like, you can be thinking of something else and you don't even know. You're just going. Cars are in front of you. You're braking when you need to brake, accelerate when you need to accelerate. But your mind is not consciously in what you're doing. That's how many of us make decisions. We are just doing it. It's like muscle memory. Somebody's trying to reach out to you. You're not listening to the person. You're just pressing your reply button the way you always press it. You're not even listening to the situation in front of you. And so it's very important that you understand, you realize what's happening. All right. 2 things I'm going to point out is that the past isn't just present. It is influencing your decisions. And so even if the past is the past, it is still, I was talking to somebody about this today. It is the future is a sum of your past. Your future is a sum of your past. SUM is an addition of your past. Like everything that's happened in your past is your future. Now, what do I mean? This sentence I just made now is already in my past. The sentence I just made now again is already in my past. And so anything you are doing now in order to make sure that your future is better, the moment you are done doing it, it becomes your past. And so if everything I'm doing at any point in time is actively becoming my past, it means that my past, from someone's past, from my past, you should be able to predict my future. And so for you to say it's in the past, it don't go. You may think it has gone, but it is still constantly helping you to decide how you approach in the future. Now, I know you guys like relationship gossip, so let me give you one. Okay, it's not gossip. If you find yourself in a position where you have dated somebody and that person, I want to be very sensitive when I say this so that I don't say anything anybody's going to use and disturb me later. Say you have dated a banker before, and that banker that you dated is always telling you how stressful work is, and oh, I had to stay extra hours. You know, now when work closes, we have to make sure that the book adds up. The inflow of money and the outflow of money has to all match, and you know, so I have to stay extra. Work closes by 4, that's fine, but sometimes I have to stay till 8 and all of that. I have to stay up till 8:30, and so that's why I'm coming home by 10. This is your relationship, right? Now, somewhere along the line, you find out that it is not really the bank work that makes them come home so late. That latest they leave the office by 5, so work closes by 4, and they balance their sheets for like an hour, and so they leave the office by 5. But they're actually going somewhere else to hang out with somebody else before they come home by 8:39. And you find that out, and because of all of that, that relationship ends. Now the relationship has ended. Do you know that no matter how much you heal from that relationship, dating a banker again is going to be very difficult. Because even if you say, no, people are different. Like, no, I'm telling you, people are different. You know, some are going to cheat, some are not going to cheat. No problem. So people are different. So the first banker I dated, no problem. The next one I'm dating, I'm not going to carry the problem of banker A and put on banker B, right? The day banker B that you are now dating, comes home with some excuse, oh, Omo, you will not believe the amount of work we had to do today, your brain is going to fly straight to the last experience you had. It's going to fly straight to the last experience you had. And it's not something you can, like, if you're not conscious of why you feel that way, it will be very easy for you to go into fight or flight mode. Like, are you sure this thing you are saying now, you actually came from the bank, right? So if you don't pay attention to small things like this is why the experiences we have in the past, we must, and I'm not saying you have to, you must be able to make them experiences that you learn from in a way that they don't affect your future decisions. They will always influence your future decisions, but make sure that they are not affecting them negatively. They will always influence it, whether you like it or not. Someone who has seen someone that did something and it got them into trouble, you will always remember it anytime you're in that kind of situation again. All right, so you just have to make sure that it's not affecting it negatively. The second thing I want you to know is that your past experiences, it shapes, I think I've mentioned that while I was explaining this, it shapes your relationships, it shapes the amount of risks you are willing to take, and it shapes your confidence. Imagine going to an event and somebody tells you, maybe your friend self tells you, bro, let's say you dey smell. For the rest of that event, you're going to not want to stay near anybody. And if by mistake you're close to anybody and somebody says, everything they smell here, let's say genuinely is something else, but just because of what you have now remembered that, they just told me that I'm smelling on, you always be thinking that it's you. But guess what? It doesn't end at that event. The next time you go out, you'll be avoiding people. Like, maybe I'm still smelling. I might still be smelling. And so what does that lead to over time? If you keep that kind of feeling for long, what happens? You stop talking to people, you stop trying to socialize and all of that. And guess what? Over time, people will say, that guy, he's reserved, he's just reserved, he likes being on his own. They will not know that it's insecurity that you have packaged into a new personality. They won't know that this is now an insecurity that this guy has packaged into a new personality. And so, remember, I told you to ask yourself 2 questions. When was the first time I felt this way? And the second question is, who made me feel this way? Because if you cannot trace back those origins of where did this thing start from, you may think that that is how you are. If you cannot trace back to say, okay, it's around this time I started becoming shy. It's around this time I stopped being too confident. It's around this time I did not like to go out again. You must be very reflective if you must handle some of these shadows. They are not going. Shadows themselves are not necessarily bad, but it's how you handle them that will decide whether they will become good influences or bad influences. All right. Obviously, the next thing we have to talk about is awareness. All right. We have to talk about awareness. All right. We have to talk about awareness. Now, if you must change anything in your life, you must be aware. I said this thing about problems some days back. If you must change anything in your life, you must be aware of it. And awareness is very important, because if you're not even aware of what people say about you, if you're not aware of your personality traits, if you're not aware of how you handle issues, you're always going to think that, well, this is who I am, and so what's the need, right? So number one is that you must build awareness. Number two is that you must question your patterns. If something has happened over and over again, or random people have made the same comment about you, or this guy, let's say you get anger issues, they may say it like they're joking, but 3 different people saying it in a short period of time, you have to question it. Like, why are people saying this thing? Like, why do people think I have anger issues? Why do people think I'm reserved? What are they seeing? You must question those patterns. What are they seeing that makes them think that maybe I am this kind of person? I may not have mentioned your own specific kind of lifestyle, but you need to ask yourself those questions. Why do people think I am this way? Like, why do they think what they think? Right? And the last one, of course, is you must be able to separate your identity from your experience. It happens a lot of times where people experience something and it becomes their life. It becomes their life. It has happened. I always ask myself this question, even if I know it's not always easy, right? It's not always easy to separate your identity from your experience, because over time, everything you experience almost makes you the kind of person you are, right? So if you're somebody that has experienced abuse, and I say this with all form of sensitivity, if you've experienced abuse in any form, you're going to be easily triggered once there's a sense of abuse about to happen. Like, it has not happened, but you're just like, oh, the way this guy is talking, be like saying he wants to slap me. You're already triggered, like, because you have experienced it before, you know how it plays out. All right. But if you must have control over what is happening in your life, you must be able to separate. You must be able to separate your experience from your identity. And there are some things people say. They say things like, especially in the Western world, they say when bad things happen to them, they say, I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. And what they're trying to say in that state is that whatever happened, maybe based on time and chance. But you being a victim can go beyond just that thing that happened. For instance, if you were robbed and you were beaten mercilessly and all of that, you can decide to live your life going forward by identifying yourself as somebody who was robbed and beaten badly, or identify yourself as someone who was robbed and in spite of all of that was still able to continue their life. So try to always separate your experiences from who you are. You are not your experiences. Yes, your experiences is what you have been through, something that may have happened to you, but you are not your experiences, whether good experiences or bad experiences. You are not your experiences. So you must separate yourself from that. All right. this is not something, I'm not saying this that you're going to be blaming your past. It's not, you don't have to go and blame your past, right? Separate yourself from your past and understand when your past is trying to be influential. There are people now, I heard of a situation last week. It was about a guy who had dated a girl for 4 years. They had dated for 4 years. And now they were going for marriage counseling. That's to show you how long the relationship has lasted. Like now they were ready to get married. And in the middle of that marriage counseling, you know now, obviously, this is someone I've dated for 4 years. What are you hiding again? So they were talking about their sources of income. And on the spot, the guy found out that the girl earns more than him. So the guy earns about 150K and the girl earns about 350. Right? And instantly, I'm not joking, instantly, the guy ended a 4 years relationship because he said that he cannot date a woman who earns more than him. And this is the question. The question is, do you think that guy just came up with that conclusion during that counseling session? You may think so. I don't think so. It's either he has been in a situation where he has seen what a woman who had more money than her husband did, or even in his own family, maybe at some point his mother was the one handling the affairs of the family and he saw some things and he was like, I will never be poorer than my wife. I'm just saying. So, but if you I'm sure that if I have a conversation with that guy, I'll be able to pinpoint where that is coming from. And so now he has met somebody and the girl kept on saying, the lady kept on saying, no, this is not like, we have dated for 4 years. Have I shown you anything that makes it look like I'm here because of money, or have I not respected you the same way? Right? The guy no agree. He did not agree. Right? And this is a clear example of your past experiences, your traumas showing up actively in your decision making. And whether you like it or not, every time you allow your past to influence a decision that you're about to make that involves another person, you have also continued that chain of trauma. Why? Because he has just acted most likely on something that he has experienced in the past. But guess what? He has also created that kind of past for that lady. Because now, that lady is always going to be worried about the next person she meets. She's always going to be worried about his income, even if the next person is not worried about it. So she's always going to be worried about the income. And so imagine she now dates the next person and then finds out that she earns more than the next person too. And she breaks up with him. She has also transferred the trauma that she did not know where it originated from to the next person. And so the chain continues. The chain continues. One of these days, I will talk about the cycle of life. I'll talk about the cycle of life. And it goes from how somebody being rude to a taxi driver in the morning can end up taking a random person's life in the evening of the same day. It's a long analogy, so I can't go into that in this video. But life is a cycle, and whether you like it or not, you are influential. It may be on a small scale, but everything you do that involves another person, you are influential. And that's part of the reasons why, beyond yourself, you must be able to handle your trauma so that you don't pass them on to others. You could pass your trauma onto a random stranger. You could pass your trauma to your children. And so, sorry, if you don't handle your past very well, you are just going to be a trauma distribution machine. Anybody that you see, what can I call that? Trauma distribution machine. TROM, TDM. Anybody you meet, you transfer the trauma. Anybody you meet, you transfer the trauma. You're spreading it, and before you know, everybody that you have met is now traumatized in a new way because of you. So you have to be intentional about it. All right. And of course, like I said, you have to be aware. You must question patterns, and you have to separate your identity from your experiences. Your shadows, they are not going to disappear. I'm rounding up now. Your shadows are not going to disappear. This is plain. They're always going to be there. There's nobody that has a future without a past. They are always going to be there. They are always going to be there. But one of the ways that you can control the influence your past has over you, as I've been emphasizing throughout this video, is you must, MUST, you must understand your past. You must understand it. You cannot be ignorant of your past. Any other person can be ignorant of your own past, but if you must conquer your past, you must not be ignorant of your past. So if you know you had certain issues, you know you had these other issues, I've faced a lot of battles in my life, and at some point I faced the battle of confidence. I faced that battle of confidence. Being able to speak where people are without feeling like you're inferior or anything like that. I've faced all those battles, some of them. I mean, I can't say all because who am I? Right? But if you must overcome your past, if you must make the best out of your past, right? You must understand your past. You cannot be ignorant of your past. But if it's about your past being erased, it's not going to happen. Don't worry. Don't worry about that one. I'm telling you now, your past is your past. It's going to always be your past. It's not going to change to anything else. It's always going to be there. And that's why no matter how long somebody lives, 100 and something years, when they want to talk about you, they will still say, he was born in so. Why are you still worried about where I was born? Can't we focus on what's happening now? Can't you focus on the last 5 years of my life? Why are you going back to where I was born? In a family of 5. Like, what's your problem? Focus on why your past is always going to be your past. So don't run away from your past. Deal with it. Don't run away from your past. Deal with it. When you begin to understand very well why you do the things you do, when you begin to understand, what you went through, how it's affecting you, that is when your true freedom begins. That's when your true freedom begins. This is something I want you to ask yourself again. I repeat, for in case you're just joining, ask yourself these 2 questions. Think of any attribute in your life. Think of any attribute in your life that you feel dominates your life decisions. If you feel like you're a pessimist, if you feel like you're an optimist, mostly the negative ones. You don't want to change a good part of your life for something else, right? I mean, it could be better, but I mean, just focus on any of those attributes that you think need to be addressed and ask yourself these two questions. Number one, when was the first time I felt this way? You can write that down if you don't want to answer it now. When was the first time I felt this way? And the second question you have to ask yourself is this: who, WHO, who made me feel this way? Even if you don't know the person, call the person X. Call the person X, right? Who made me feel this way? All right. Try to remember the circumstances around that event. It may not have been your fault. Probably you didn't know better. Probably you were too young. Don't tie your identity to your experiences. If you're a victim of abuse, if you're a victim of anything, do not tie your experiences and your identity with one rope. Don't mix it up. You have experienced it, is fine, but this is who you are. All right. Thank you so much. Remember, the topic we just addressed is shadows, the past that still controls us. All right. And I hope at this point you have been able to understand, even if you have not been able to overcome it, but you have been able to understand exactly what to do next. You have been able to understand exactly what to do next. This is Dev Chuks channel, all right, and my name is Dozie Chuks. All right, I'm going to be with you every Sunday by 8 p.m. and we're going to be handling live conversations, relatable conversations. We're not going abstract. There are a lot of real life issues people go through, and that's what we're going to focus on. Real life issues that people go through. We don't have to complicate anything going too far into, all the crazy technical stuff. Let's ABA, let BBB. That's how we start. Simplicity. All right. So every Sunday by 8 p.m. we're going to be having conversations like this, and from time to time I'm going to be inviting, different sets of people, professionals in this area of counseling, people who also want to share their story, either anonymously or unanonymously. I don't know if there's a word like that, just so that the whole point is that we'll be able to strengthen each other in our lives, right? Strengthen each other based on our experiences. All right. Thank you so much for joining. If you have not liked this video, please do so, so that YouTube algorithm can show more people. And please, if you were blessed by this, you can drop a comment. If you have questions, you can do that. I think I received a question from someone. I don't know if I should. Okay, I can't read this one. The comment is so heavy. But drop a comment, drop a like, share it as much as possible. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and good night. Thanks for joining.